The next Dynasty, Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down the Power 5. Team by team, record by record, we are predicting the entire season for 2018, leading you up all the way to the Power 5 kickoffs on Thursday night, August 30th. We come to the team in the SEC Eastern Division who, for many years, under Mark Richt, seemed like poised based on talent and production and recruiting rankings to get to a BCS championship game or a college football playoff, finally made it. And then once there, they looked poised with a 13-point lead to wrap it all up for the first time since Herschel Walker and Vince Dooley in 1980 and win the national championship. They didn't quite get it done, but they showed us signs of what are things to come, we believe, based on what Kirby Smart is building in Athens and has already built, because this team, again, came within an overtime play of winning the national championship. And they are, state of Alabama, Alabama fans, Crimson Tide, this is the SEC champion. It's the Georgia Bulldogs, of course, 13-2, 7-1 in conference play last year. Let's start at quarterback. Jake Fromm was a game manager, handed it off to two of the best backs in college football, Nick Chubb and Sony Michel. So gone are 2,700 total yards from scrimmage and 32 touchdowns just last season from Michel and Chubb, now with the Patriots and the Browns. Jake Fromm, little by little, was given a little bit more ownership of the offense, a little bit more on his shoulders, and he finally had to pull through in particular. Not that he didn't in particular aspects of the game before this, but against Oklahoma, down big and then down by a touchdown late in the game. I was impressed with his final drive against the Sooners in regulation, needing a touchdown to tie, and he pulled out some big plays with his arm mostly, but also with his legs, buying some time to then throw it downfield, and then also we saw him run for a couple first downs. All right, Jake Fromm, 24 touchdowns, 7 picks last year, a 62% passer. But still, because of what's behind him, not that Georgia fans are dissatisfied with what he delivered last year, but the thought of Justin Fields and all that talent, what many have already considered just watching him play high school football and watching his reps on the practice field at Georgia, that he's a generational kind of quarterback. He's that talented. All right, but I believe it's Jake Fromm. Then it's Justin Fields if needed. All right, at running back, Chubb and Michel gone. Zamir White out for the season. One of the top 5 rated running backs in the nation coming into college football play. James Cook, number 3 rated running back. Could get some carries, probably an expanded role for him. Elijah Holyfield as well with 293 yards and 2 touchdowns last year. But, of course, the main man is the guy that we saw play prominent in the offense last year with 618 yards, 7.6 yards per carry, and 3 touchdowns. It would be one of my top 10 running backs coming into 2018. Check out the video. DeAndre Swift. All right, at wide receiver, Terry Godwin, not a ton of reps with 38 catches and 6 touchdowns, but from a talent perspective, and he may really explode, especially if they let Fromm throw it downfield more often. Godwin could have a huge season. McCole Hardman, 25 catches, 4 touchdowns. Riley Ridley, he only caught 14 in the regular season, but huge in the national championship game against the Tide, 2 touchdowns on the season. The Cal transfer coming home. Big news just about a month ago, Demetrius Robinson. He could factor into the offense. And, of course, we've got a couple 4 and 5 stars in Kyrus Jackson and also Tommy Bush, who could bulk up the wide receiver core and make it extremely deep. Every unit on this team is deep with talent. It's been a top recruiting class, one of the top 2 or 3 in the nation for a few years now. At tight end, there are 4 and 5 star players, again, here. Isaac Nada only caught 9 passes last year, but 29 the season before, and he should prove to be the number 1 tight end, although, again, he's got 4 and 5 star guys nipping at his heels. 27 offensive line starts by freshmen in 2017. That bodes well for this year with 69 starts coming back in 2018. All right, on the defense, they lose a ton of experienced and productive and athletic players. The guy that fits the mold of all that, put it all together, is Roquan Smith, now with the Chicago Bears. 137 tackles, a machine. We talk about a player that's tenacious, that has the work ethic, that has the freakish talent, and then puts it all together with football smarts. That's the guy, Roquan Smith, and leadership. So he's going to be severely missed. We throw around the term dominant all the time in college football. Roquan Smith, truly dominant. All right. The top or the front seven, most of the top players other than Smith, back. You've got tackle Tyler Clark, 41 tackles, 6 tackles for loss. Defensive end Jonathan Ledbetter as well. Linebacker DeAndre Walker, 13.5 tackles for loss and 5.5 sacks. Notre Dame grad transfer Jay Hayes in the fold, as well as we got some blue chip signees in Adam Anderson, who is the 13th rated player at his position, and Quay Walker at number 31 in the 247 composite. All right, the corners are back. That's extremely important, of course. Maybe not necessarily against the SEC Eastern Division with the quarterback issues at Tennessee, Kentucky, just about everywhere. Vanderbilt has a good one in Kyle Shermer, and South Carolina a decent one in Jake Bentley. But other than that, Drew Lock, of course, has to be faced as well. But DeAndre Baker, 44 stops, 3 picks, and Tyreek McGee, another good one. All right, Georgia signed, if they're going to need any of these guys. And we mentioned a few here, but 8 of the top 31 recruits in the country. Let that sink in. There are 130 FBS teams. There's, 68 Power 5s, and then there's what you would consider 35 to 40 really strong football programs out there, and they sign 8 of 31 at the top. All right, place kicker Rodrigo Blankenship, perfect under 40 yards last year, and the special teams as a whole was tremendous. All right, let's get to the schedule for this juggernaut. Georgia Tech out of conference, at home. There's no Notre Dame this year. No other big non-conference game. In the SEC Western Division, 2 of the toughies. Of course, they always play Auburn. That was the one loss last year in the regular season, going to the Plains and getting stomped in that game like 42-14, something in that range. Going to LSU as well, a difficult task for the Georgia Bulldogs. Possible losses would be those 2 games, Auburn, LSU, and also the Week 2 matchup that is certainly, if you're looking for an opening for anybody in the SEC Eastern Division to try to vie for a championship, it would be, of course, to take down Georgia head-to-head would be goal number 1. That would be the quickest way, the quickest path, because, of course, if you lose to Georgia, then you're basically 2 games behind because of the head-to-head situation. So Georgia going to South Carolina Week 2 would certainly be the opening for what would be considered right now to be the second-best team in the SEC Eastern Division. I think Florida may have something to say about that. So I see a loss in there somewhere, whether that's at South Carolina, at LSU, Auburn. Auburn's the best team of the 3, but Georgia does get them in Athens. So 11-1 for the Dogs, 7-1 in the SEC Eastern Division, and regardless of how that plays out, unless it's a loss to South Carolina, and then South Carolina only loses 1 other game in the SEC, then there you go, 7-1, 7-1, and South Carolina would go to Atlanta and the SEC title game. Okay, we've got a weekly newsletter that comes out. I believe that's once a week. Weekly newsletter. So starting on Monday, September 3rd, we deliver to you a channel update, but more importantly for you, stats, trends, and facts that you won't see in one place anywhere else. And then also my take and perspective on college football for the weekend. So send me your email to MarkRogersTV@gmail, and I will get you on the mailing list. And of course, like, comment, subscribe. We do the work. You just have to click the buttons right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football.